Father God, in the name of Jesus, we're just so grateful to be in your presence this morning. Lord, I pray on this morning, Lord, that people will be blessed by the word that you placed in me today. I pray that it be touched, Lord. I pray that every expectation, every desire will be met, Lord. I pray that every infirmity will be bound up in Jesus' name. Unless it was something to teach them the words of your law, Lord. Unless it was something to draw them closer to you, we just cast it out in Jesus' name. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Good morning. Good morning. It's such a blessing to be with you on the day. I pray, Lord, as we get ready to go into this teaching, that it will touch you. I did want to really reach out to y'all this morning, but as you can see, I'm in the break room at work. So, but I wanted to just to talk to you for a minute because God had something on my heart, and I was talking with another leader. Which kind of sparked this message, but don't pay attention to the decor. I want you to listen to the message on this morning. I want to talk to you about reflections. Reflections. This is the title of this morning's devotion, reflections. When I think about reflections, there's a verse in the Bible that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. I believe that's Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. As a man thinketh, so is he. Reflections. You know, when I think about reflections, I think about Michael Jackson and his famous song, "The Man in the Mirror." Have you checked out the man in the mirror? Have you looked? Have you saw yourself? Do you really see yourself for who you really are? Or are you looking at who you think you should be? So that's what I want to talk to you about this morning. The man in the mirror. I want to talk to you about reflections. If you want to make this world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. Reflections. When I looked it up in the Webster's dictionary, you know, it had several definitions. I'm going to share 5 of them with you this morning. Reflections, an effect produced by an influence. So reflection, our reflections, or what we reflect on, there was something that influenced that reflection, something that impressed upon us, so that now that impression has become an expression. So reflection is an effect produced by influence. And then reflections is also an obscure or indirect criticism. How many times have we spoken about someone in a negative connotation? How many times have we looked at someone or looked at something and not really got to know that person, and before we know it, now we're speaking about them negatively or thinking about them negatively. So we have to be careful about our reflections and how we think. Reflections, a thought, idea, or an opinion form. Reflections, a thought, an idea, or an opinion form. We have to be careful that our reflections or our thoughts or our ideas that are formed are positive. That's why the Apostle Paul said, think on these things, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are kind, whatsoever things of good report, whatsoever things that are true. We have to focus on those things, because if not, our thoughts can kind of get away from us, or our imagination. Reflections, a remark made as a result of a meditation, what we've been thinking about. A remark. Reflections, a consideration of some subject matter, idea, or purpose. A consideration of some subject matter, idea, or purpose. Reflections. We're talking about the man in the mirror. We're talking about reflections this morning. So a reflection, or when we are reflecting, reflections are thoughts remarks and considerations. Whatever we're thinking of, whatever we are commenting about, whatever we are considering, our thoughts should be on things that are lovely. Our thoughts should be on things that are pure. Our thoughts should be on things that are kind. But how often have they not been? How often have our thoughts been obscure or an indirect criticism of someone or something? We have to be careful about when we do that, because sometimes they say when you point one finger, you have two pointing back at you. How can we reflect Christ to people and reject people in crisis? How can we reflect Christ to people and reject people in crisis? Oftentimes, Christ is right in the midst of us. He is right here. He is right here in the midst of us. But unbelievers miss the message because they can't hear Christ in you. Oftentimes, Christ is right in the midst of us, but they cannot. The message is often missed by our believers because they can't hear Christ in you. FYI. While you reflect on their attitude, it's really a projection of what they see in you. While you reflect on their attitude, it's really a projection of what they see in you. How can attitude reflect leadership when leaders deflect bad attitudes? When we turn aside or turn away from those who are negative, we've been called to minister. So oftentimes we're lights in dark places and we can't. But oftentimes when we see a bad attitude, we deflect. But how can leadership attitudes reflect leadership when we deflect bad attitudes? People wouldn't be so problematic if we would just deal with our personal problems. Reflections. See, you may think you can condemn such people, but you are just as bad, and you have no excuse. When you say they are wicked and should be punished, you are condemning yourself. For who are you? For you who judge others do the very same things. That's what the Apostle Paul talked about in Romans chapter 2, verse 1. How are you talking about them when you're doing exactly the same thing? Brings me back to our topic. We're talking about the man in the mirror. As a man thinketh, so is he. Oftentimes when people get on our nerves, or they're working our nerves, it's really Christ working on those very nerve endings on the inside of you, on things that need to be changed. A lot of times the things that bother us, or the things that we are things that get us worked up is because Christ is still working. There's still some things that we need to work through. If we would work through those things, we wouldn't get so worked up. And until we work through those things, those very same things that we need to work through, are going to be those things that work us up. So I just want to get you to think about that. You know, if we're going to be purpose-driven leaders, our reflections, our thoughts, our remarks, our considerations need to be on things that are lovely, things that are kind, things that are pure, things that are true. Because if we don't start doing this, we could end up with wicked thoughts, and now we have our imagination is running away from us. We have to truly, what's the word I'm looking for? If you want to make this world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. Oftentimes, people are reflecting what we are projecting. Amen. So I hope this wasn't to take a pot shot at you, but we as leaders, before we start looking at other people and what they're going through, we have to become big. We have to be bigger than the problem. But oftentimes, the problem is bigger than us because we're small-minded. The problem will always be big to you, or bigger than you, when you're small-minded. God bless you. God keep you. Enjoy your day.